Welcome back to the Drinks and Dunks YouTube show. I'm your host, Ben Marquardt, and on today's show, we're going to talk about the top 5 players in the NBA right now, according to yours truly. But first, I'm going to talk about the beer I got today. It's a Fair State Brewing Cooperative beer from Minneapolis. It's a hazy IPA, and it's got a pretty sweet can, if you ask me. The artwork's pretty sweet. Part of the reason why I took it, besides the fact that I enjoy hazy IPAs. And yeah, at first taste, it's a really tasty beer. Nice and smooth, which is good in an IPA. I honestly don't like them when they're super bitter. More of a pale ale guy myself. But if I had to compare it to one NBA player, I'd probably go maybe like a Carmelo, Prime Carmelo, or a CJ McCollum, because I really like the beer and it's really smooth, electric scorer, which those two were. All right, looking at our picks from last week, we had the Bucks -5 over the Heat. This was the first game of their back-to-back on Tuesday. Safe to say they covered. They ended up winning by 47. Also set an NBA record in threes at 29. Yeah, just a crazy game. Obviously, the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler, which hurts them. But I don't think Jimmy Butler would have made the difference, if I'm being honest, just due to the fact that anytime a team makes 29 threes, which has never been done, but anytime a team makes in the 20s, it's really tough to overcome that kind of shooting. So that one we easily covered, what brought us to 3-2. And then the Raptors were 0-2 coming into that game against the Sixers. Thought they'd bounce back, get off the schneid. Kind of choked away a lead late. Embiid kind of took over in the fourth, and they ended up losing that game by 7. So we didn't hit our parlay, but we're evened up at 3-3. It's going to be a crazy year. We mentioned that throughout. Anytime a team wins by 47, usually kind of an outlier. Raptors were the 2 seed last year. Now they're 0-3 to start out, so anything can happen, which is kind of why we're taking a different approach to this episode. Take a break from the picks for now. We'll get back at it actually in a couple days. I think I'll have another video out. But today we're going to go over the top 5 players in the NBA, according to me, right now. And this is neutral team, because obviously context matters in everything in life, but especially in basketball. And so a certain player will fit a certain way on a team and fit better on other teams with different players around him. But what I want to look at is if you drop this player onto a specific or a neutral team, just like an average team, how much better does he make that team? Does it make him a championship contender? And which player has the best chance to win a championship if you drop them onto that neutral team with the average players? We're going to start at number 5. And honestly, I think 1 through 4 were the clearest cut for me. Number 5 was really tough, and I'm still having a hard time deciding between these guys. But for the sake of the neutral team argument, I'm going to go James Harden at number 5. Obviously, previous MVP, he got runner-up a couple times, just an electric scorer, averaged over 30 the last couple of years. And I think he gets a little bit unfair criticism due to the playoff bounces. Because if you look at the teams he lost to, I mean, it was the juggernaut Warriors in back-to-back playoff series. And I think if, this is just speculation, but they were up 3-2 on the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals when Chris Paul went down. And I think if they would have pulled that off and beaten the Kevin Durant and Steph Curry Warriors, you'd be looking at James Harden in a completely different light right now, regardless of the off-the-court stuff. And that's why I think he can kind of fit on any team and raise their floor so much higher, and I think become an immediate championship contender, which makes his trade scenario all the much more intriguing. So he's my number 5 spot. Number 4, I know a lot of Bucks fans are going to be surprised by this, but due to the fit and playoff woes that have ailed him the last couple years, I'm going to go Giannis at 4. I do have him above Harden, based mainly on the defense, and I don't think anyone can call me a homer for having Giannis at 4 right now, because he is the back-to-back MVP and last year's Defensive Player of the Year. And I think people sometimes overlook defense, and people can say, oh, you can game plan for him easier offensively, blah blah blah, which I think is true, but he does bring that defensive aspect. So that's why I have him at number 4, just because he's not a shooter, so that does limit. If you put him on an average team, who's to say if they have good shooters or not? And I think that does matter with Giannis. Number 3, I got Kawhi Leonard. Due to his amazing defensive capabilities, 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time NBA champion, just an all-around player. He can hit that mid-range, he can hit that 3, he can kind of do it all. Flamed out a bit in the bubble last year, but I do think the bubble was a unique scenario in which it really helped out and favored some teams more than others. And I don't think, with the lack of chemistry the Clippers had, that it was an ideal scenario for them. And another reason why I don't really fault Giannis in the Bucks as much as other teams, just because the bubble scenario is weird. And who's to say? Who knows how it really affected them? Next, I got KD at number 2, just for the pure fact that he's arguably the greatest scorer of the basketball that I've ever seen, and arguably of all time. Former MVP, 2-time NBA champ with the Warriors. I think if he would have stayed in OKC, they would have had a chance to win one too. I think he can be a really high-level defensive player. We'll see where he's at after the Achilles injury. But KD, you drop him onto a neutral team, and they're definitely making the playoffs. They're definitely a championship contender. He can kind of fit with anyone. A 7-foot lightning scorer can kind of get wherever he wants. And the number 1 player this year, according to myself, this one's not very surprising. It was just his birthday yesterday, actually. And that's LeBron James. Obviously, a 4-time NBA champion, 4-time MVP, 4-time Finals MVP. I think we know all the accolades. Not much needs to be said about LeBron, besides that he's just an animal. And this is, kind of a respect pick. I mean, he did just win the title, so it's hard to put anyone else above him and what they've accomplished. But he is 36. He's aging, and I'll be interested to see at the end of the year. I'll probably redo this, but will be interesting to see if he's still in the number 1 spot at the end of the year. So in honor of New Year's Eve, which is today, we counted down the top 5. Like I said, I'll do it again. Maybe I'll rank some other teams or other players, rookies, under 25 guys, and we'll see what we got. I'll see you guys on Saturday. I think I'm going to drop another video, so keep an eye out for that. Appreciate all the comments. Some beers were harder to find. If you requested a beer, I'll get it out there eventually. Just searching around. So, yeah, I appreciate the views, and make sure to subscribe and share it with all your friends. And before I forget, got to pay off that Raptors loss. Eventually they'll win one of these games, but got to pay it off with a 5-second chug before I get out of here.